Yo, what is going on, Philly Sports Nation? Welcome to episode 15 of the Sports Talk podcast. So, before we get started, I want to say, thank you, 90s, for stopping by in the chat. What up, Coach Zante? It's good to see you guys in here. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's so much I'm gonna talk about today. Also, I mean, light the stream up if you can. Also get in particularly get in the chat too. Let me know what you guys think about it or some of these topics I'm gonna be covering. Some of them I'm probably gonna make some videos on. So probably so just bear with me on that. So obviously let's get right into it. So obviously first topic on the agenda is the Bishop Sycamore controversy. Now, this is an interesting one because I just feel like the fact you're a quote unquote fake high school, the fact you have these 20 like these older kids, trying to play football against these high schoolers, it just doesn't really make any sense to them. It really doesn't. The fact that you're having these kids who are basically the age of college students, playing at the high school football, which to be honest, it should not happen. Um, what is going on, Slave? What is going on, my guy? Well, but see and I know people kind of make, and I don't know people make memes of it, but um, just because it just feel like it's like, okay, let's throw a team of 20-year-olds together and play against these 16 to 17-year-olds at the high school level. The fact that you have these two coaches with the checker pass, um, nothing's really going on much, Slay. Um, uh, Nothing really much at this point. Also, for those of you, go sub up Coach Dante, go sub up my buddy Nightings, and then hey, go show my buddy Big Play Slay some love too, as well. Help at least try to help him get 1K before the start of night before the start of the week one of the NFL season. So when going back onto this, it's just like now let's see losing for the Bishop Sycamore, who nobody knows, who's a team that nobody knows about, in Ohio. The fact that you play IMG Academy at the Hall of Fame stadium in Canton, Ohio. The fact you had these coaches who have these troubled pasts. The fact that you have these 20 or I guess like 20 plus year olds who are playing should be in college at this point. Some probably college dropouts, who knows what information is out there. But this is like a laughable controversy because the fact that you have a high school, or technically fake high school, I should say, the fact you had, and the even with like the Paragon Marketing Group, and now to fake that into broadcasting it on ESPN on national television. The fact that basically got your asses kicked, by IMG Academy, is probably one of the better football schools. Um, it kind of shows like this. Like these kids doesn't look like they know nothing about football. I mean, to some extent, but not like no like these like kids who actually or actually at the high school level and willing to work at their game. The quarter. I mean, it's just a crazy. It's like a crazy controversy for people, and it's really talked about too. It just kind of feel like it's just. I don't know though. That's the thing too. It's just like if you're gonna have a fake high school, doing this. I mean, you would think there was like I guess get into like some legal ramifications because of it. The fact they're having kids who are not who like I said, they're not in school. I just kind of feel like it's just where just people just don't understand. Where I just feel like they just don't really understand it. But I wanted to know what your guys' thoughts are on this because I just find this very laughable at this point because I know everybody's and some it's very I mean Pat McAfee's kind of made fun of it with some of his guests on or his co-hosts and whatnot. And I mean, you got it. It's pretty laughable, for Bishop Sycamore. But now topic number two. let's go to the Eagles versus to the Falcons Week 1 overview. Which honestly, I'm excited for Eagles football. I just kind of feel like it's just where you know. I think on paper we have some good players on paper. Like obviously, we're gonna have some bumps and ups and downs throughout the season. I mean, there are some teams that are going to give us troubles, like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the New Orleans Saints, teams like those. But but the fact that we also play well at home, I think that's really what's going to help. And also, we also play well at home as well for the basically, every time we play at home, like we do pretty well at home. Sometimes we're pretty good on the road, but not really as good the way that we play at home. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited though because it's like now we're gonna see what Jalen Hurts is really made of. Same with Devontae Smith. I'm just gonna like name a few like Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins. We all know what he can do. The way that he's been balling on preseason. Now, and on the secondary side, you have Steven Nelson and Darius Slay. Two cornerbacks. Hopefully they can be lockdown corners. And then you got some good linebackers too. And I made a video about this too. Breaking down their 53-man roster. And unfortunately, the fact that you had and that brings me to this kind of like the different like a sub point. The fact that you have J Jaw surprisingly making the team, which I feel like it was laughable because I know Travis Hogan wasn't playing well, just because I don't know. It's just weird because I kind of feel like that what he brought to the Eagles when he came here, I just feel like it just fizzled out. It just quickly fizzled out, and which is a shame too because feel like it just kind of just feel like he just doesn't really. It just is that magic that he had isn't there. But do I think he's probably going to go? Someone's going to. I mean, look, I get he's on the practice squad along with Jordan Howard, which for me, I'm surprised I thought Boston Scott was going to be on the practice squad, or, to be on the practice squad because I wouldn't mind having at least have a bruiser back late, Jordan Howard. And speaking of Jordan Howard, though, sorry guys, if he hadn't had that shoulder stinger, I think that's what really fucked him up was that shoulder stinger, and that obviously Miami wasn't the best fit for him either. I just feel like we need someone like a third down back, and I think Jordan Howe is probably one of those you could use as a third down back. But then again, and also think too, also having Nick Sirianni, leading this team into Week 1, I just kind of feel like I think if you're trying to if you can be unpredictable with a lot of teams, I think there's no reason why this is going to be a successful team in this division. Which I think we should win this division, hands down. I mean, now you have like some of these other free agents signing with other teams, like obviously Corey Clement. When he was okay with us, but now he's a Cowboy, but with a short stint with the Giants and all that. Yeah, I don't really care about that. But to look forward to their first game at Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. First game of the 2021 Eagles season is upon us. Eagles fans. I mean, I'm excited as you are, man. It's just like it's been a while since we had Eagles football. I just feel like it's just where I don't know. Maybe there's something about Eagles football, like when we have like this new coaching staff, and some of these young players too. Which that's another thing. Was I think, I mean, there's going to be some growing pains here too. I mean, you have Jalen Hurts entering his second season. You have Quez Watkins entering his second season, along with Jalen Rager too. So, and then you have some of these guys who are rookies. Like Brett Mander Dickerson. Now you're going to have Devontae Smith, just to name a couple. Now you're also having Jordan Mailata on the fit. Actually, as a starter, which really I think it's been long overdue for Jordan Mailata. The fact that just the fact that the Eagles the coaching staff before Nick Sirianni got there kind of just really never used him a lot. But the fact that he's been playing even in the preseason games as a at the left tackle kind of shows this coaching staff has confidence in Jordan Mailata. Someone who's coming from a rugby background. Hasn't really didn't know how to play football, even though obviously the rules over there was a little bit different. And then also we now have a new punter in Aaron Sippis too. Like it's pretty crazy to think, about what the Eagles are going to be doing this season. And unfortunately, I mean, I know people are going to get a lot of hate on Jake Elliott, but I really hope he does have a breakout season. I just kind of feel like he just needs to have a breakout season. He really does. And, I just kind of feel like it's just where people just need to really take in consideration too. Like, obviously we're stuck. It's just like we just had to take in consideration that we're kind of stuck with him. But if he can can get back to his old self again, like he does, I just kind of feel like it's just where he needs to really step it up. That's all I have to say. To really wrap all this up for the Philadelphia Eagles and their Week 1 overview again against the Atlanta Falcons. I just kind of feel like it's it's going to be very exciting to watch to see what Jalen Hurts can do. Now with his buddy Devontae Smith, now we're going to have that kind of duo, and then you're going to have Miles Sanders, who's probably going to be one of the offensive breakout star. Obviously, this. I mean, there's no reason why if Sanders can stay healthy, there's no reason why he can get over 1,000 yards. With this under Nick Sirianni and this coaching staff. That's all I gotta say. And then we're gonna move on. Actually, to some more football topic. Rashawn Jones has been arrested for Brian Payda's murder 15 years later. Now, for those who don't know, I mean, if you haven't watched Flemlo, he kind of really broke it all down. That how Rashawn Jones really just took, really just considered it a murder because obviously, Brian Payda was probably one of the better players at Miami. And, obviously, and the fact that when Brian Payda was murdered and he kind of disappeared, and the fact, what I find suspicious he said, oh, that my cell phone was turned up, but, police, had records before he said he had that, that statement basically. And, I'm not really going to go really into too much depth to it because I highly recommend you guys check out Flemmo's video on the situation or 15 years ago. I mean, which is crazy to think though, like 2006. The fact you had, I mean, and that's the thing about Rashawn Jones too. From what I took from Flemmo's video, it's just like he was like egotistical, like he was like an easy jealous type, and the fact that. And this is the thing too, like the fact that Brian Payda he was dating his ex-girlfriend, and the fact that really didn't set off Rashawn Jones, it just that's just a petty move out of Rashawn Jones, and the fact that now Jones's wife saying, "Oh, he's not a murderer," is like, really? I mean, do you really? I kind of doubt he would. I mean, I don't doubt it because I had a feeling from what I took away from it. It's just like. If you have someone that's like jealous with a big ego, that the fact that Brian Payda was kind of like a walk on, or I think he had a scholarship, probably one of the other two, to the U basically, and the fact that I think we kind of became a star of that team. That's what another thing that's kind of set off Rashawn Jones in the end too, to really take his life. I just kind of feel like it's just where at this point, 15 years later, his family, and think about it this way: since that happened in 2006, it's just if you're his family, how would you cope with that for like the last 15 years? Like the fact you couldn't find him, and the fact that when they have a memorial before the game, he was pictured kneeling next to the picture of Brian Payda, which obviously I find that really suspicious at one point. Because it's like, look, if you're gonna have someone, if you really took the life of your teammate because you won't keep your emotions in check because you are so easily jealous, you're so egotistical at times. I mean, at this point, he should just kind of just rot in jail because of what he's done. It's time to pay the consequences. You know, like there's a saying, what goes around comes around. Sometimes karma is a bitch, and the fact that you took Brian Payton's life because of how because and that's the thing too. And Brian Payton too had a great work ethic you know from from his time at the U. Obviously, I was a little bit young when that happened, but when I heard about Rashawn Jones getting arrested 15 years later, I was surprised. The fact that they finally found him, um, just really, and that's the thing too. And I'm thinking to myself, what were you doing in the last 50? And I get you were trying to find him, but then again, you just got to think too, like, what were you doing in the last 15 years to help Brian Payton's family to get closure for the death of their son? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But I just kind of feel like it just, even though it's well long overdue, I think it's time for the consequences to be, justice needs to be served for the murder of Brian Payton. I thought, and I watched a few clips of him too. Growing up, he was a stud at Miami. But obviously, when Sean Jones was one of the players that even was suspended from the team, and when that happened, the coach called a voluntary meeting. You know, all no matter if you're suspended or not, you have to be there. And the one player that was not there was Rashawn Jones. Now, I was thinking about making a video about this, but since I'm lying anyway for those who don't know about it, I thought I want to talk to you guys about it because I think I just kind of I don't know though. It's just like it's crazy to think 15 years later that Rashawn Jones now Rashawn Jones has now finally been caught. I mean, at this point, from what from what I understand is that I just feel like I mean, there's going to be probably more info coming out very soon, but only time will tell. I mean, right now, I mean, he's already arrested on a murder charge. I mean, you guys can actually look this on Google. I mean, I really haven't thought about I mean, you guys can check on Google yourself and actually learn the story between and go check out Flemlo's video. That gives you more in depth to know why this really happened. And the fact that how this became to be. It's crazy to really understand. Obviously, with the fact you're your teammates, but you can't keep your emotions in check, and the fact that you paid a hit, and not to mention this dude paid a hitman to take out Brian Payton too. So it shows how scummy this guy really is. I know I'm gonna try to be as positive, but I think at this point this really needs to be really said something. I mean, I played with teammates before, but that fact you have someone who's egotistical, willing to really not keep their emotions in check, and really not understand, and the fact that you kind of basically you threw your life away, making that dumb decision back then. Now, and like I said before, karma is a bitch. Like obviously, what goes around comes around. The fact you acted on, the murder of Brian Payton, and then you get caught 15 years later, shows how irresponsible of a human and disgusting human being that you really have to be to do it. I mean, it's crazy to really understand. Just really, I don't know. I mean, I want you to know what you guys have to think about the Brian Payton murder story, and now the Rashawn Jones now being arrested for it. Now, obviously, going to the basketball. Do I really have to explain this title, anyways? I mean, this at this point, I mean, I've already made I think 2 or 3 videos on Ben Simmons. I don't know though, because And not to mention too, it's just like I don't know. It's just like the way that he's acting is like, and and this is what and Charles Barkley. I know, despite people hate him, but I think he was kind of right about Ben Simmons at one point on the Mike Missinelli show. I don't know though. It's just like the fact we're paying this guy so much amount of money, but the fact that he doesn't want to improve. I mean, obviously, it's like a beating the dead. It's playing like a broken record over and over and over again for the last 5 years. It does, and that's the thing too. Like, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. It really doesn't. The fact that these are some Ben Simmons defenders out there is it's laughable. It is very laughable because at this point, and that's the thing. And I said this before, and I'll say this again. I was never a supporter, and I was never a defender of Ben Simmons. Never was, and probably never will be. And I'll keep saying that until these Ben Simmons fans really need to realize Ben Simmons is nothing but a liability and a toxic cancer to this team. What is there to say? Because there's really, and don't let say, oh, he's like the best defender in the league. Don't give me that. Like, you have to look at it from. This is an offensive league now. Not like say 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, you can probably make. I mean, look, all the defense accolades are great, but that doesn't mean that makes up one half of your game. And the fact that he has disappeared, especially into the playoffs too. The fact he has disappeared, and then the Sixers were playing 5-on-4 basketball throughout the playoffs. It's laughable and disgusting. The fact that Ben Simmons wants to act like a spoiled brat, and say, oh, like you're threatening to sit out. At this point, I don't care. I don't care what Simmons does at this point. Because at this point, I mean, we should just void his contract completely and just, cut our losses with him. Because obviously, this dude's not he's not a basketball player. He's just, and he's just an athlete. That's about it. No, and I don't give me any like shit because of it. Because, because if you're like, and that's the thing too, Lee. And the fact that there's some Ben Simmons defenders is very laughable at this point. I mean, I don't want to name drop, but I mean, it's very laughable at this point. It really is. The fact now he's willing to send out training camp, and I've already made this video. I made a video about it too, so I highly recommend you guys check that out and check out my other ones too about Ben Simmons. And just kind of you guys can understand why. And that's the thing too. And even when he was drafted, in the 2016 draft, I just never liked him. Never have been. I just never liked the kid. And it's just, and seeing these like Ben Simmons defenders say, oh, and the fact he's putting out these work, and not, and just putting out these work videos, I'm done. I'm like done buying into it, And I mentioned this in my video too, and I mentioned DJ Eastwood from Running Back Philly, and RB from Philly Tick with RB. I mentioned their names because, I mean, just from like a short sample size, we had enough. Like, it's time to cut our losses with him. The dude's a diva. He's acting like a spoiled brat. Also, he's acting like a clown too. It's like the fact we're paying you this much and you're acting like acting childish because the fact that you're the one who burnt the bridge between yourself and the organization, and then you're playing the victim. I don't think so. And this is why I think Charles Barkley really, and I really applaud, Charles Barkley really ripping into Ben Simmons. It's crazy that how this saga is still going on. I don't know though. It's just like, I don't know. Like, it's crazy to really have to, grasp at it. But just because it's like, oh, like Ben Simmons is going to willing to sell a training camp. And that's the thing too, and that's the thing too with players nowadays. Like, players do not need that much power. And the fact that he says, "Oh, I want to trade to this one," like Ben Simmons, "Oh, like I'm open to be traded to these Californian teams." Kind of, I mean, you would think the writing was on the wall for him because, like, obviously, buying a $20 million home in LA, in part of LA, part of the, and not to mention that too. And I said this time and time again. And with my buddy Mitch kind of doing something like that. I commented and say he only cares about living a luxury and lavish lifestyle. Plus, all care about esports gaming. Yeah, even though he's part of the Phase Clan Esports org, I just kind of feel like that's where his mindset is at this point. I don't really think he really cares about basketball. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't care how he acts. That's on him. At 25 years old, the fact you're still acting like a spoiled brat, kind of shows that you don't belong in this league. I'm just saying, you just don't really belong in this league. That I don't know that, and there's and actually, speaking of since I've talked about Ben Simmons or Charles Barkley ripping into Ben Simmons. And he actually kind of, and I actually pulled up a thing from the New York Post, and it kind of goes, the Hall of Famer has slammed Ben Simmons after the point guard reportedly told Team Brass that he wants to be traded. But other than, I don't want to go into the one paragraph, but he goes on to say, quote, if you want to be traded, that is fine. We are not giving you away. We're not going to trade you to where you want to be traded. For someone who wants to give up the deal, we're not taking 25 cents on the dollar. If we don't get the deal we want, you are going to be playing right here in Philadelphia. So basically, what he's saying is just Ben Simmons wants to go to these California teams, and obviously at the end of the day, this even though it's professional sports, it's also a business. You don't get to choose where you get to be traded. Wherever you get traded, you're going to play. That's how it is at the end of the day. And speaking of more basketball news, I thought I want to make a video on Nerlens Noel. Former Sixers center Nerlens Noel is suing mega agent Rich Paul. Now, for those who don't know who about Rich Paul is, he is one of the co-founders of Clutch Sports, who's also and LeBron James is one of the other founders of Clutch Sports. It's just. I don't know. When I heard about this, it's I don't know though. Okay, so ESPN actually put. When did they put this out? Okay, on August 24th, 2021, on ESPN writer Brian Windhorst, and he put this piece out saying, it's titled, "New York Knicks Nerlens Noel sues Rich Paul. Clutch Sports claims $58 million and lost and potential salary." Now, for those who don't know, Rich Paul is probably one of the scummiest agents you could probably have. He's probably the cause of one of these. He's one of those agents that causes a lot of people to get traded to these to the West Coast because I don't get it. Now you got to see Rajon Rondo going over there. The fact he's an agent to most of these players, and not to mention the fact he's also he has a client to Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey. Now. Speaking about Tyrese Maxey, what up, Coach Dante? Speaking about Tyrese Maxey, the fact that he want to stop these Philadelphia charity events it's so scummy on a whole nother level. It's just your ass deserve to get shit. And that's the thing too. If I kind of agree with this too with some Sixers fans I follow on Twitter. Someone brought up the idea that he should just drop him, just fire him, and and that's the thing with Nerlens Noel, what Noel has done, and this is what he's doing. And it says, New York Knicks center Nerlens Noel filed a lawsuit against former agent Rich Paul and his firm Clutch Sports on Monday, claiming he lost $58 million in potential salary while he was represented by Paul from 2017 to 2020. Noel took the action after Clutch recently filed a grievance with the National Basketball Players Association, claiming that Noel hadn't paid $200,000 in commission on his previous 1 year contract with the Knicks. Multiple sources told ESPN. Noel claims that breach of fiduciary duty, breach of contract, and negligence. The lawsuit doesn't cite a specific amount of damages, but asks for a actual and punitive relief. But obviously, Rich Paul himself declined to comment on it. This lawsuit was filed in Dallas County, Texas, centers around a decision made in July 2017 when Noel was a restricted free agent of the Dallas Mavericks when he averaged 8.5 points a game, 6.8 rebounds per game, and 22 games with the Mavericks after he was traded there midway through the previous season from the Philadelphia 76ers. But yeah, I mean, it is, and obviously, and the article also, kind of just names LeBron and obviously Ben Simmons, who I talked about in the previous topic. But obviously he has those as his clients, and Noel said that Paul advised him to pass on the $70 million offer and accept a 1 year deal so he could be an unrestricted free agent for the following year. When Paul said he could get Noel a more lucrative contract. Noel, unfortunately he did turn down the deal, signed his 1 year qualifying offer of $4.1 million. Now I don't want to really go into detail, but long story short, like I said, long story short, the Rich Paul as probably needs to rethink how he does business, kind of things, and the fact that you're having one of your former clients filing a lawsuit against you kind of tells this at one point you're such a scummy manager, or not a scummy manager, but an agent to the point where I know you're telling like someone as young as Tyrese Maxey to stop with these Philadelphia charity events, and it's like I don't get that. I really do not get that. The fact you have Tyrese Maxey, who's probably going to be one of the better superstars on this team, alongside Joel Embiid, but you're telling him like he can't do these charity events to have get back to the Philadelphia community. And I think this should be should be like a trending thing, like say, hashtag fuck Rich Paul. That should be trending on Twitter, because I know everybody's talking about it. If look up the hashtag fuck Rich Paul, because everybody's been kind of really kind of just shitting on him for being a scummy agent at this point. I just don't really want to see where. I just kind of feel like it's just where, if you're like someone as young as Tyrese Maxey, you would think the fact you're having your agent telling you to stop with these. Actually, I want to pull it. Actually, I have it on my Twitter. Also, go follow me on Twitter, by the way. So all of my socials are in the description. But I actually quote tweeted. He goes by Ninja Bands on Twitter, and he tweeted out this: Rich Paul telling Tyrese Maxey to cancel his events with Philadelphia and charities isn't being talked about enough. Well, Rye, you're gonna get this, because number one, I just kind of feel like he it doesn't really make sense. The fact you're telling someone is a potential superstar and Tyrese Maxey, the fact you're having really to stop try to get back to do these Philadelphia charities, kind of tells you, and someone and I kind of agree with them too. Like, agents nowadays are kind of ruining sports a little bit, and Rich Paul too. I mean, like, this dude is just nothing but a scummy human being. Telling the fact I don't know what's the word, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but you're telling someone you don't like I don't know though, like, so how do you have the gall to tell somebody someone or basically have the goal to tell Tyrese Maxey, look, you have to stop doing these charity events. Like, and if it was Tyrese Maxey, my thought, and I would have to say, look, why? Like really? It's like, dude, like, I mean, at this point, I mean, I would fire Rich Paul at this point if I were Tyrese Maxey and get a new agent because number one, like the fact he's trying to, him and LeBron are like the co-owners of Clutch Sports, and the fact that him and Ben Simmons Ben Simmons is his as client, and same with Tyrese Maxey. And I mean, as much as I love Tyrese Maxey, but I think he needs to find a better agent. And this is not on Tyrese Maxey, but this is Rich Paul we're talking about here. Rich Paul is just one scummy human being. That the fact you're telling someone who like you can't really give back, you to stop giving back to the community, and Rich Paul, I don't give a shit that Rich Paul just fuck him, fuck Rich Paul, try to really get into the head of a young superstar. I don't give a shit. The fact that you are having the fact that Rich Paul is doing this, I think he's really trying to piss. I mean, I understand why he's hated, and I get that. But from my perspective, and for the Sixers fans too, it's just like it's so fucked up to be on extent to the where like I would just fire him right on the spot. Like it really is. Like people don't realize it's a fucked up thing to say or just tell someone like and that's the thing too. Like you have the right to give back to you can also give like he's giving back to his community. Not to mention that he also did a camp in his hometown of Garland, Texas. Like I mean, Tyrese Maxey is trying to really solidify himself as probably one of those rarities, or not say rarities, but one of the actually players that worked out other than Joel Embiid, who was actually despite the process he has put Embiid, it just he obviously Embiid took a big step forward, and it's time, and Tyrese Maxey's making big strides, even off the court too. What he's doing, I mean, keep it up, man. I mean, I don't, if your agent tells you otherwise, just fire him right on the spot. That's all I have to say because I just feel like just like Tyrese Maxey, you're having, and I'm not just Tyrese Maxey, but also Rich Paul too, to really try to corrupt him. So I say, look, it's time for you to like stop telling or like tell them, to basically say to cancel his, basically cancel events with Philadelphia charities. Like, who in the right mind does that? You tell me. You tell me. Who in the right mind decides to really tell someone as a bright star in Tyrese Maxey to really cancel events with different charities in the city of Philadelphia? I can't think of any other person that could think of it on Rich Paul, but man, he can go fuck himself at this point. Look, I know if I'm swearing, I don't care at this point because the fact of what and this is from August at the end of August, and the fact and this is what my response was to this. I said that's fucked up on so many levels. If I were Maxey, I'd drop him instantly because why would you tell Maxey to cancel events for Phillies charities? Like what the fuck? Hashtag fuck Rich Paul. So I feel like, if you guys are not following me on Twitter or want to, follow me on Twitter. I mean, I'll, post a lot of updates and, different like content, like streams like this, Also, you check out my merch store too, which is also in the description as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, it's crazy, man. It is really fucking crazy. I mean, it's like why? It's just I don't know though. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like the fact you're having someone like Tyrese Maxey, who's probably is probably in my understanding should be the starting point guard for the Sixers if Ben Simmons doesn't really want to really get really want to doesn't really want to be here because and that's the thing too. It's like this and what. I don't know. It's just like the what Tyrese Maxey is bringing to the table with these with some of these what he's doing is amazing. It really is amazing, and that kind of brings up to my thoughts on him. I think at this point, I feel like I think he's going to be a great superstar, for years to come. With a lot of All Star appearances and selections, I mean, I mean, if you guys see what he's been doing, I mean, he's also been working on his 3-point shot too, which even though that was kind of his question mark, but I mean, his style of play. I mean, you had to think John Capillari and the Kentucky Wildcats, and John, Calipari. Um, I'll give. I mean, give credit for Kentucky, man. They're always producing, NBA ready, talent like Boogie Cousins, Tyrese Maxey, just I guess Carl. Was it? I think Anthony. I don't know, man. It's crazy to see how like about one basketball program kind of prepares the I don't know. It's just like what Kentucky break and the fact that how they go about it, and not to mention too. Like I'll give you speaking. I mean, I'm not talking about Tyrese Maxey, but since I already mentioned the Kentucky Wildcats, and I'll give you like their alumni that are currently in the NBA. You got Bam Adebayo from the Miami Heat, Eric Bledsoe, Devin Booker, Willie Cauley Stein, Anthony Davis, Hamadou Diallo. I mean, I apologize if I'm butchering that wrong. De'Aaron Fox, Wayne Gabriel, Shai Gilgis Alexander, Tyler Hero, Keldon Johnson, Ennis Cantor, Kevin Knox, Trey Lyles, Tyrese Maxey, Malik Monk, Michael Mulder, Jamal Murray, Nerlens Noel, Emmanuel Quickly, Julius Randle, Nick Richards, Rajon Rondo, Carl Anthony Towns, John Wall, and PJ Washington. You would think. I mean, that's the thing too. Like, I'm a Nova fan, but seeing what Kentucky has done to produce the NBA ready talent, it's crazy. I'm not saying it's crazy, but it's impressive. And now that John Calipari has probably been did a pretty good job of developing Tyrese Maxey. Before when he fell, and that brings me to another point too. The fact that we took Tyrese Maxey 21st overall in the draft, I'm still shocked about it because it's like you would think most times not you'll see like these Kentucky Wildcat players go in the top 10 in the first round most times than not. Some might fall. I mean that's to be expected, but the way that Tyrese Maxey that fell to the Sixers at 21 kind of shows. I mean, I guess somebody this team or whatever teams that passed up on him are really are. I'm pretty sure are already regretting it now because I think Tyrese Maxey is just getting started. Hopefully basically going into his second year in the league now. Hopefully, and then obviously, outperforming Ben Simmons, and taking actual literally, not afraid, and he's not afraid to shoot the ball too. No, at times he'll miss, but he's not afraid to take shots. When he may not be a shot creator, like an ISO shot creator, but he can still create shots. And take them when he has to. Like for example, like you can leave him like if you leave him on the wing open for a three, he'll take that shot. I mean, he can hit threes, but I think the way that he's going about it, he's trying to say, look, I get my 3-point percentage was not great in college or in the NBA. So let's work on it. Try to get to in a consistent rhythm to really so you could be like have like not say like Steph Curry kind of shooting. At least be a consistent 3-point shooter. And at least have a 40% clip. Kind of how Danny Green had shot last season. I think that this team is going to be very fun to watch for the Sixers and their future. Obviously, the only prospect has, and Philip Petrusev has, I mean, their draft pick from Serbia. He's went to play overseas, so I think that's a smart move to help him get more seasoning. So I think when he comes back and is ready to move up into the NBA, I think he's going to have that. And I think another guy I think is going to take another step forward, or a few guys I should say, to take step forwards is Isaiah Joe and Paul Reed. Paul Reed, on the other hand, is something special too. It's just like, and I get it. He's the fact. I mean, I know at one point he played a center, but I think you can use him as a power forward too. Like, and he can give you dominant production. The fact you also can have him, if you can have him and Joel Embiid on the floor together, who knows? I mean, I feel like Joel Embiid can really help Paul Reed and learn a few things or two. I mean, they both got some good play styles under, like when they're playing underneath the basket. Like going for like say go like boxing out. Paul Reed can do that. I mean, Paul Reed's got height to be on, and Paul Reed's got size and strength. And same with Joel Embiid too. And the fact that Joel Embiid, I mean, in our eyes, is basically an MVP. Obviously an MVP runner up, signed his super max extension, which is he's worth every penny of that super max. Despite having a torn meniscus in the playoffs, but still, like I said, like I mentioned in my video about it, the fact he's giving you like 30, 40 points a night, especially in the playoffs. I mean, I feel like that's what really. I mean, he shows like look. I know I was playing with an injury. Look, I wanted to give him my all for the city, and obviously, and after the abysmal Game 7 loss to the Hawks, and then he comes out saying, I mean, basically, like he kind of basically said, he kind of threw shade towards Ben Simmons and kind of threw him under the bus a little bit. And obviously, what he meant by is that open dunk that Ben Simmons missed and passed up to Matisse Thybulle, who is another player I think he's going to outperform Ben Simmons on the probably on the defensive end. Also has some decent offense and a decent offense game. So I mean, and Matisse too. He's not afraid to shoot the ball either. I mean, his offense is not great, but when the shot is there for him to take, he'll take it. Like there are times like where like he may. I mean, obviously Matisse is a bench player. I mean, that's really what it is. But when he's on the floor, he's only used it for defensive purposes. But at times he can give you like a couple handful of points every now and again off the bench. Like it's. I mean that's the thing too. Like you have now this season is going to be Matisse's third season in the NBA. Like it's crazy to think about. Not to mention he's also an Olympic gold. He won the bronze medal for Team Australia. Obviously, I mean it kind of shows like he's capable to want to be, willing to work, putting in the work. Obviously, playing Olympic basketball at basic basketball at the very highest in international competition. Playing for his Team Australia. Obviously, he's Australian American, which is weird to really to understand. Is like how the hell is I don't know, and that's the thing, and that's the thing to want to say about Ben Simmons too. Is just like if he's playing at LSU, how the hell does it come? How was he born in Melbourne? But and that's the thing too. It's weird. I don't know. I mean, it's like the weirdest thing to really go on about. But to really wrap up with the Sixers, I mean, my expectation is I really hope the Sixers can really figure out something at the point guard spot, and then retool the bench a little bit. If they can do that, I think we should just be just fine. I mean, I just think, I think if we just cut, I mean, Ben Simmons is pretty much it's nothing but a cancer to this team anyway. And I said this before too. Like if I'm Ben Simmons and not Ben Simmons, but Joel Embiid and some of his team and the teammates, like, I mean, and what he and the way that he just didn't want to show up for his teammates. I mean, Ben Simmons will not be the same. People people are still going to hate him. either way. And if I were his teammates, like like, and at this point, I mean, they're pretty much like it's and to wrap this all up. I mean, this is Ben Simmons' fault for turning this back on them. He already burnt the relationship bridge, and I get it. It's just like, oh, like this is not all about Ben Simmons. Like, I mean, there's some other blames going to, but with Ben Simmons, requesting a trade, it's his fault that he wants out of Philly. Like the fact he doesn't. I mean, we keep telling like how many. I mean, it's crazy to think to understand. You have to tell a young player to like if you're not going to and Kobe Bryant said this best too. Like by the time he's done his career, he's going to regret not having a jump shot. You know, and despite Kobe was a Laker, he was right. Like people don't understand how right Kobe Bryant was with regarding to Ben Simmons and his lack of a jump shot. And now people seeing these workout videos the last 5 seasons in an open gym with no competition. And at one point, I never bought into it. I just never did because it's like I was like, okay, so I looked over, like, is he going to do this? Like when he never did that in his first season. I told me from the start, like he just didn't want to it just really shows like Ben Simmons is a stubborn person. The fact that we're paying this amount of money, as probably one of the a top pick in that draft class. Who, by the way, we could have had Brandon Ingram instead of Ben Simmons. And you would think too, like the other names that was part of that draft class, we could have had over Ben Simmons, and we wouldn't even have this problem in the first place. I mean, coaching wise, it was to be expected to do a coaching change. But the fact that Ben Simmons has disappeared on his teammates, kind of just let them kind of basically to die on their own on 5-on-4 against teams in the playoffs. And, you're having a player that's 6'11", that's liable on offense, and you have, he's only good as a defender. Like, I mean, at this point, he's probably not going to last long in this league. At this point, if he doesn't want to improve his game, he's not going to last long in this league. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, you can't delay the inevitable at this point. If he doesn't want to do anything about it, he can just walk away from the game of basketball and just do something else with his life. I don't care. But to wrap this all off for the next, let's say for the next 7 minutes, and I did a rant video about this too. I did basically I kind of described my thoughts on the Phillies fan base and the toxicity that resides within it, which obviously it happens in Philly sports with other sport. And sometimes you got in one hand you got the good passionate fans, and then you got these other ones who are the toxic player or people, and and then earlier I had I had to get rid of or I had to talk to one of my people who commented on my Phillies video, the fact that he kind of came at me because I didn't see nothing to him about and that's the thing in this video. I never name dropped anybody. I just said a group. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that some people are taking it out of context because when I said a group, not specifically mentioning because just because because this was just my opinion and critique on the Phillies fans. Plus, it was also a rant video. So if you guys go watch that, disclaimer. There's going to be I forgot to add a disclaimer, but disclaimer in that video. There's going to be a lot of swearing. I was just so heated in that because it's like just because of the Girardi slander. Because and I said that and I kind of made this point too. It's just like I keep saying seeing the same thing over and over and over again. The fact that if we do fire George Girardi, which is not going to happen, and call me a Girardi defender all you want, like I'm seeing it from my objective perspective. The fact that look, I know his decisions is questionable. Yes, I get that, But the fact you're coming at me because I think he was one of the better, a credible coach that we had in the last since what 2005. And I said this exact same thing too. That yo, what's going on, my buddy? What's going on, Nightings? And oh, very nice, very nice. Um, and that's the thing too. And I said this before too, like from and I mentioned the different managers that and I said too, like we had so many managers going back to 1883, which is how long this organization has been in professional baseball. And this team is old. Some of these teams are old. We've been here since 1883. So, and then when you go and I when mentioned from 2005 and 2013, we had a great manager in Charlie Manuel. Who originally was the Cleveland Indians manager, which I didn't really know about until when I did that video, and then after that, we fired him. I think in the middle of the 2013 season, and have him replaced by Ryan Sandberg, and then I just and now we were and somebody brought up a good point. It was like no matter how much what managers we go through, there's the one constant that we really don't have. And look, I mean, obviously, and now what I'm now because obviously we do have a lack of talent in some areas on this team. Shortstop, starting rotation, a couple bullpen pieces. I think, and I also and I'm thinking about, and I want to talk about Rafael Marchand real quick because this kid, when he's made his debut last year, I thought he had some potential too. Like the fact he has two professional home runs in his career, in his professional career, none of the minors. It's crazy to think, like the fact that he can also, produce, as a backup catcher, which obviously at this point you should cut your losses with Andrew Knapp at this point, and Bros and Hunter Brody kind of said this as true on this one, like at this point, like you don't stop praising, you know, Andrew Knapp for game calling. There's a lot more to it than just calling games, And this goes to the pitchers too. So I look at this from my perspective as a pitcher. Doesn't matter what role I'm in. And at times, like if there's not a pitch that like say in a certain count, like if I don't want to use that pitch, I shake him off. Pitchers like Aaron Nola, who I'm very critical of. The fact he's so inconsistent at this point, he doesn't want to shake off because it's like number one, that's really gonna hurt you. But you're having Zach Wheeler, who I know he's on a little bit of a skid right now, but he's still making the case with the Cy Young, which is pretty cool to look to see. But the fact that he can shake off with some, and that's the thing too. And the people are also slandering JT Realmuto too, and it kind of makes me question too, where if you're going to start slandering people, do you guys have any? And I don't want to get into the politics of it, but to give a little, and that's the thing too. It's like you guys have to realize, there's going to be there's going to be consequences of slander, and there really is. There is going to be very consequences with that. So, I mean, I highly recommend you guys, watch the slander because number one, you never know who's going to come out and I mean, basically know all about it because, and look, and I get it. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I get that. But the fact you're going after Girardi, you're going after JT, you're going after. I mean, obviously Didi, I think is another one. I think it's one that needs to go anyways. Just because he's not that good anymore like he used to be. I just feel like at this point I would rather release him or at least DFA him, and then bring up Bryson Stott, who's been really killing in the minors at this point. Because then again, I don't want to rush Stott though. That's the thing though. Even though we need a good shortstop. I mean, and I was talking to a few people. I think the best options we can get, this offseason too, is going to be shortstop heavy and bullpen heavy. So if I'm Dombrowski, I will take a look at that quickly because to name a few, the shortstops are going to be in this class is Carlos Correa from the Houston Astros, and he turned down an offer from the Astros to test the free agent waters. Yeah, Corey Seager, who's going to be a free agent. Trevor Story is going to be a free agent. You know, I already made a video about Trevor Story, but I think to really put this in perspective, and if there's going to be like say if Bryson Stott's not ready, like give him like another year or so to develop, at least bring in somewhat like a veteran like a Corey Seager or someone like a Trevor Story in on a 1 year deal who can actually give you better production than Didi Gregorius does. I just kind of feel like it's just where the short. I mean, shortstop is one of our biggest needs too, and also that we need to start looking at outfielders too. All I know is just like McCutcheon. I know is going to walk. We're definitely gonna need a left fielder and an out and a center fielder so far. So to wrap this all up, to make this long story short, the Philadelphia Phillies have some question marks in their certain spots. Obviously, the starting rotation. I mean, obviously, we DFA Chase Anderson, which is good to see. Now for those who don't know, Chase Anderson has signed a minor league deal with the Texas Rangers. So now he's joining former Philly Spencer Howard over there. I think we should, cut our losses with Matt Moore. I mean, Didi, I think, is another one. I mean, obviously, McCutcheon is not going to be the same player that he used to be back in the day. I mean, 2013 McCutcheon, man, was something special to watch. But now the fact he's getting up there, he's already up there in age, kind of leads to believe like he's on his last legs, and I don't know if he can. I know he's going to stay in the league a little bit longer. Oh yeah, I mean, not to mention the fact too. How about and I don't. I mean, I really haven't really talked about him as much. Salvador Perez. Let me go. I want to give you a little bit my thoughts on Salvi Perez this season. It's insane for a guy who spent most of his career with the Kansas City Royals, who's been kind of been a mediocre team. But 2015, like if we go back to 2015, that was a very stacked Kansas City team. Trolling. I mean, beat the Mets in the World Series to win win a the World Series championship since 1985. So, and George Brett was there to see it, which is pretty cool, an amazing moment to see as George Brett, who is a Hall of Famer for the Kansas City Royals. But you're having someone like Salvi Perez, I kind of feel like he's kind of going on the. I don't know though. It's just like it's crazy to see some of these older players like, for some odd reason, are really bringing it. Like, so obviously, from what the news is, he's only 31 years old, but he's giving Shohei Ohtani a run for his money for that home run title. So far, I mean, just so, before I end this podcast episode, I want to give you guys give his stats so far this season. He has 520 at bats with a 277 average. He has 41 home runs, 102 RBI, and a stolen base, which is weird to see Salvador Perez with a stolen base, because and that's the thing too. Like Salvi, when I think of Perez, man, he is a good catcher behind the plate, but I don't know, he's not that fast as a catcher though, and I said this exact same thing about Yadi Molina, who, the fact he's going to call it a career after this season, it shows how he's how loyal Yadi Molina is to the St. Louis Cardinals. It really is, man, and that's the thing too. And Molina is no doubt Hall of Famer. The fact he has been there since 2000. Played also with players like Chris Carpenter, Jason Mudd, Albert Pujols. I mean, the list can go on. I think it's just crazy to think, you're seeing these players like are kind of really, finally ending their careers. It really is. But I think that for tonight, that's all I have for you guys today. So if you guys like this stream, or if you are new to my channel, I mean, please, consider hitting that subscribe button. Really show support. I mean, if you guys literally like this video or some of my streams that I do, I should say, I like appreciate the support that you guys are giving me, and I'm already on my road to 150 subs. It's pretty cool to where I'm at now as a content creator. But and do these podcast episodes too. I give you guys every Sunday. It's pretty cool. Give you guys some recaps. And then kind of just really just you guys are You're an amazing group of people. You guys really are an amazing group of people that who get in the chat. That I like to talk to. Lightings. Thank you for being here. Same with you, Coach Dante. Big Play Slay. You guys. You guys are you guys are the best, and same with my buddy Mitchkovsky. He's like, and that's the thing too. Like I have I like if you guys also want to also show support, uh I'm planning an idea to if you want to guys buy some of my merch, um what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna think about featuring those who buy my merch on my Instagram. As kind of like for those who kind of like a like an appreciation kind of thing. My buddy DJ Eastwood has done it, so I want to try to do that. For you guys, to really show appreciation to this community that I'm a part of. Well, yeah. I mean that's all I have up to wrap up for. If you guys want to get some of my merch, my Teespring store is down below in the description. So go cop yourself some merch because I have some shirts, hood, some phone cases. I got some like coffee mug. I got some coffee mugs, rumblers, like you name it. It's there on the store. Go check it out. But obviously, with that being said, for episode 15 of the Sports Talk Podcast, this is Robert from the Philly Sports Podcast. I am going to see you guys in the very next episode. Peace out, guys.